All right. I think we will just start now, and let's see if everyone is joining afterwards. I hope everyone is in a good mood and in a good condition to have this session of the StartOnline. So this is the first workshop. You have been informed about all the coming workshop for the next session, and while we are waiting for everyone to join, I will have a quick recap on what is the Blue Factory, what is the StartOnline, and today's program. So a quick word about the StartOnline. So you all have been registered, informed about the StartOnline program, and I just wanted to emphasize what is the concrete mission of these sessions. So basically, the StartOnline is really for those who are starting an idea or a prototype. Is really aimed to give you some concrete feedbacks on what it is to start a company, to start an idea. And for that, we are organizing the masterclass. So maybe that could help you to have some feedback from entrepreneurs who have been part of this journey. That's what we meant by deactivating preconceived idea, is really to give you concrete feedback, insight, journey, example that could also help you in your own entrepreneurial journey, that you can use as a step back to also reflect on your own journey. And again, it's okay if you don't have an idea yet. The program is not selective, so the main idea is really for you to have inspirational and good networking throughout the program. As mentioning that we are here to help you alongside of this journey. By we, I mean the Blue Factory team, but also the entrepreneurs that will be invited for the masterclass. And something really important, I will detail it on the next slide, is that you are a lot of participants. I was saying in my previous email that 80 people registered to join the StartOnline. So you are huge resources between you because you are coming from all the campuses of ESCP and across the world. So this is also a resource that you can use throughout the program, and you will have the occasion to do so. So about the Blue Factory team, so today on the call we have Maëva, Agnieszka, Simone, and Nico from the Madrid campus will join afterwards. So they are from the Blue Factory team across the campuses, and maybe they can just say a quick hi, but we will have the time also to introduce ourselves more deeply.
Yeah, hi, my name is Maëva. Really happy to have you here. It's a new edition of the Start. It's all about you joining us from all over the world, and looking forward to support you in the next months. I'm in charge of the Blue Factory in general, and I'm based in Paris with Manuela.
Nice. Agnieszka, you want to say a quick hi?
Yes, of course. So also warm welcome from my side. So I'm working for the Blue Factory based in Berlin. So if we have any Berlin-based founders, yes, super happy to connect you. Also not in a virtual, but then in a physical way. And yeah, super happy for the next edition, and fingers crossed, and really looking forward to meeting you and discuss your projects.
And also we have Simone from the Turin campus.
Hi guys, nice to meet you. I enjoying ESCP and Blue Factory in these days, so very happy to be this evening, and very happy to meet you all, and I hope to help you to do the best. So again, nice to meet you.
Thank you. So for today's program, so as you were aware, we will start by the masterclass with Demystifying Entrepreneurship that will be given by Maëva. After that, we will have this networking moment. So, I mean, it's really important for you to also connect with the other participants. We have built those subgroups, so it's nice if you stay also for this part, so we can add you to the subgroup and you can connect with the other participants. Then we will have a collective wrap-up and give you some resources and some mission for the next session, and then have just a quick gathering together at the end of the session to say goodbye and see you for the next session, which will be on March 7. But for the moment, I want to also emphasize the fact that, yeah, as I said, we have 80 participants, meaning that 80 people wanted to join the StartOnline. And tonight I see that we have 15 people. So that's quite a lot also. So it's a nice way to connect. And I will share with you the trombinoscope. This is what we call a participant profile list. So you can also dive into the profile and see who has registered, who has been part of this session.
So I'm really glad to have you all tonight. We're gonna spend an hour for this masterclass. Maybe to prepare you, it's kind of, we really want to go to the roots of what is entrepreneurship. So here it's an hour together to really deep dive into how we understand the process of creation, and hopefully that will help you to understand what happens to you whenever you are kind of pregnant of an idea and you try to give birth to a project. Slowly along the masterclass, we will go more into kind of practical elements about starting a project. And afterwards, so in an hour, we'll have a 30 minutes networking groups where it will be about your own journey and where you are in your process of creation. So the first question we start with this program, if some of you already know the answer, please don't share it. But for those who don't know it, the question is, what is this seed? You know, can you answer in the chat? What type of a tree or flower or plant is behind this seed? Okay, you now have 1 minute to answer and guess. Manuela, if you see the answers, because I don't see the chat, you can tell me.
There is oak, but it's not that one. Yeah, oh yeah, there is one answer right already.
Already?
Yes.
Google is the best. Is the best friend. Cajou, no. Baobab, yes, it is. Bravo. So as you can see, this with this rule, this seed is a 1 centimeter seed, and within this seed there is everything needed to build a baobab. And if you may know, a baobab can last maximum up to 2,000 years old. It can have a circumference of 10 meters and be 40 meters high. So compared to the 1 centimeter seed, it's very, very, very different. The image there is to share with you that what we've observed about entrepreneurship since we started with Blue Factory more than 10 years ago is that the creation process is a very natural process, and we love to speak about organic entrepreneurship. The thing is that often when you start a project, especially if it's the first time that you do it, there is always what we hear from entrepreneurs, like, I'm lacking so many things. I'm lacking of a co-founder, I'm lacking of money, I'm lacking of network, I'm lacking of competencies, and etc. and etc. and etc. In the seed of the tree, there is everything that will be developed step by step along the growth of the tree, and that's exactly the same for you. That's really important that you stop, if you have this idea, thinking that you are lacking something, but more understanding where you are in the process, because you always have whatever you need right now is where you are, and you're not supposed to be able to achieve all the challenges that will come on your way later on. So be sure that you have everything you need, and that's the only thing that is required is to be in connection with your environment, because of course this seed, if it isn't in the ground, if you don't have sun, if you don't have water, nothing will happen. So it's all about understanding that you have what it requires now if you put yourself into action, and that everything is perfect at each step of your journey. If we move on, of course, the metaphor between you and a baobab is nice, but still you're not a plant, neither an animal, but you're a human being. And what we've been working on with the Blue Factory is really the connection between spirit, body, heart, and how a human being which has a consciousness is able to receive information of new things to create. Because the big difference between plants and animals and human beings is that the human beings has this ability to create something that wasn't there before. And here, this image, most of you know it, it's Leonardo da Vinci that represents human being. And Leonardo da Vinci, as you know, is a historical human being who's been able to really anticipate and have intuitions about what will come after him more than 100 years later. So the big question for you in your journey, it's not about, okay, where can I, like, what type of idea can I create? But it's more, how can I connect to ideas? Because ideas are in the air. And as startup incubators, as also groups of investors, we always identify that whenever something is being proposed in our structures, it already is proposed somewhere else. So you can have in mind that when you have an idea coming to you, consider that 100 other people have the same idea coming to them too. But the question is, like, first, how will you be able to be connected to this intuition, and how will you make it happen? So if you ever had this feeling of being afraid of losing your precious idea that you may have, again, first of all, consider that other people receive, then realize that you have this capacity to be kind of sensitive to novelty, which is a strong asset for entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs often say that they have like 30 ideas in the day, but of course they just pursue only one at a time and make it happen. And so the real question will be, how will you make it happen? And about that, you may always have in mind the question of differentiation. Often when you will present whatever you're doing, and if you present it to people who are used to support entrepreneurs, they may always have this idea that it already exists, or that they saw something that was a bit alike and the same. So it is always very important to be aware about how will you do it in your own way. So don't be afraid about the competition. Competition is also linked to the fact that, again, ideas are in the air, and so other people than you can observe this need to be fulfilled, but also realize that in the end, if you follow your own spirit and your own heart, and that you do things on your way, it will be specific. And the image here is a snowflake. And for those who don't know, I learned that you don't have a single snowflake that is the same than the other. So on the mountain, if you see the whole snow, you don't have one snowflake identical to another one. It's the same that you don't have one human being identical of the other one. So there is always a way to do it and to bring something new that can only go through each of us. About money, a real important change of looking at things is what we call bootstrapping, and the idea that often in a journey of starting a project, we are thinking, okay, I need money. But in reality, you never need money, because the money is just a mean in order to get something. So you may need to find a place, you may need to get competencies, you may need to have raw material. And the whole challenge, especially when you start at the beginning that you don't have too many resources, is to understand how will you get those things that you need to start, maybe through partnership, maybe through bargaining, maybe with someone who will lend it to you. Or maybe also you can consider that you may need less than what you think. So it's very important to understand money as a mean to get something, and to see how you can get this something maybe without money, and to also be into this understanding of the movement of money as most energy flowing and mean of exchange than something that you accumulate and that you need to start somewhere. this perspective is always a bit hard to share, but it's again, as I was telling you, we try to get you to the root of the creation. Something that often happens on the journey is to have kind of a binary vision, especially, for instance, if we consider our own competencies. Sometimes we will qualify ourselves on this I can do, this I cannot do. So for instance, some people, they will consider themselves as being super analytical, but really not creative. Or in the other way, you will consider yourself as being very capable to have many ideas, but not very organized. This binary understanding of ourselves is often connected to our education that led us to, build big muscles about some characteristic in our personality and leave others on the side. The reality, and that's what an entrepreneur usually builds along the way, is that we have the possibility to build all these talents and all these competencies. And we are not trapped in one of them, even though that's sometimes what we feel. And the main example I'm sharing is about considering the planet Earth. In reality, which means if you consider the planet Earth from the perspective of universe and of life, in reality, you never have either night or day. It is always day somewhere and night somewhere, which means that it is exactly the same for us. We are not only one side or the other, we are capacity to have all these talents depending on where the sun is lighting ourselves. So this is a bit what we call, breaking down the psychological barriers that we may have. It is really, really required, especially if you build a project, whenever you will have this thought thinking, I cannot, I don't like, that's not for me, consider this maybe as a psychological barrier and see what if it was untrue, and that will really help you go forward. And this doesn't mean that you won't meet people that will have complementary talents, but consider yourself as able to at least understand and move along this path that you may forbid to yourself for the moment. And the last thing that is, I can connect with the seed of the baobab at the beginning. What we observe is like often when you are at the beginning of a journey, you may have an idea of what you want to build, and you may have in your mind the image of the final project as it is in the end. But the reality is, like, you can imagine that between the seed of the baobab and the baobab itself, there is years and there is also a real strong difference, because as you see, the seed is not a tiny baobab, it's something that really changed. And so sometimes in the creation process, you may be blocked by the fact that in your mind, you consider the ends of the project and you would like it to happen, like, right away, that immediately it would look like what you imagine. But the beauty of entrepreneurship is that it is a discovery process that you can only build step by step. And it's only by starting somewhere that things happen. And we too many times see participants coming to us with a very perfect pitch deck, very well detailed, with so many slides, with the market competition and industry analysis and the financials and etc. But nothing has been concretely done. So it's we really welcome you to get rid of this very complex architecture that maybe is the right answer, and just walk and trust the process, as we say. So the question is, okay, where do I start? That's often in the video, and thank you for all the video that you sent to us during the START program. Often people ask, okay, where do I start? That's the main question. And where you start is just here, today, together in this program, and you have all you need to go for it. So let's start. And what do you have to start? You have yourself as a great person able to create. And what we will start is to share together. As Manuela was saying, the community, the network is something that is hyper important in the START program. And we propose to create 5-minute breakout rooms with 2 other people that you will meet. And the question is, what brings you here today? So we know that some of you already are working on some project on which you would like to have some support. Others, you are really willing to start something. You may be really interested in an industry, but you don't have yet something precise on which you're working. Whatever your situation, just share what brings you here very precisely now. And I think it's Agnieszka who is piloting our breakout rooms. So I hope you had the chance to meet new people. I had the pleasure to speak with Suma that is in LA. So indeed, we're a bit everywhere on the planet, which is very nice. So let me continue. One big question that is very, very often asked by our participants is the question of, is my idea a good idea? And on this, I wanted to speak a bit about design thinking process. Today, I think most of the students who do ESCP, they participate in a design thinking class. You may have followed it. And one thing we love to remember at the Blue Factory is the fact that the design thinking process is not a recipe to follow. It's more a way to illustrate how instinctively entrepreneurs are building projects. And in general, that's really something we see as a blockade for entrepreneurs. Is like today you have so many podcasts and so many methodologies and so many processes that at some point it's as if there were steps to follow to create something. And if you consider, I don't know, 100 years before, there was no incubators, no accelerators, no business school, no entrepreneurship programs, and hopefully humankind has been able to create things. So design thinking is a very interesting thing that is answering the question of, is my idea a good idea? Because then the answer is like, there is no good or wrong idea. There are only intuitions that then you put in the real world, and you go to potential users and beneficiaries you would like to help, and you present to them intuitions and solutions and test on the ground and iterate from their reaction. So it's all an invitation to leave your imagination and just use it as a step to put it in reality. But it's important to understand that this process is just a way to kind of simplify and express modes of operating that is instinctive. So it's an invitation to discover and dive into design thinking, but it's also an invitation to forget about design thinking and go with your guts and your attention. And one very high skill that we encourage entrepreneurs to develop, and that is very connected to design thinking, is the skill of listening. Today we have a very weak competence in listening. Personally, I think that's a bit connected to our studies, where we are pushed to always have the right answer and to be kind of, you know, the very scholar first class person. And so we don't really listen to what is around us. We always try to be right. And if we don't listen, we cannot discover. So that's if you are looking for a competence to work on and to develop in yourself, the capacity to listen is really the best way for you to listen to your inner intuition and to listen to the real reaction of external world when you will try to solve any challenge you're meeting. Another element about the question of a good idea is the question of, is the solution you are developing deep enough. Here you can see a very weak idea to solve the fact that a wall is broken and to put some stick on it that won't last for long. We often see that is connected to the fact of willing to answer to problem, maybe sometimes with a too fast process without taking the time to listen, to deeply identify what is the problem hidden behind the problem. So we really invite you to dive into the challenge that you face, to dive into the problem that you identify. I don't know, to give an example, we often have projects that try to solve the fact that people don't have time to cook. And so they want to facilitate fast delivery to those people who don't have time to feed themselves. Maybe it's interesting to dive into the reason why those people don't have time to feed themselves or to cook. And there, if you start going further, you may discover new questions, new problematics, and go to the roots of problems rather to just do a superficial solution to a problem that may not exist if it was solved at the roots of it. So just an observation that we often see, the entrepreneurs that do big things go to the roots of the problem and don't stay at the superficie. And about this, we also share. So when we started this program online, it was as often in other areas during the COVID time, and at that time it was interesting because we really get all this discussion about what is essential, what is less essential, what is vital, what is more important than other things. And that's also a question, a way of looking at projects to understand, okay, do I build, do I participate to something that's really worth it? And in this, something also that we observe is sometimes the rush to create something. And you may have a wish to differentiate the will to be creative, the will to explore, the will to contribute to something new, and the necessity to build a project. And being an entrepreneur doesn't correspond to the fact of creating an organization. And that's something that is currently a lot discussed within incubators, especially within school incubators, where we meet a lot of young students and participants that because they want to have a life of exploration and creativity and of meaning, they only have as an answer the fact of creating an organization. But the reality is it's much wider. And so, getting into what is essential in your life and what do you really need, and considering that maybe it doesn't mean creating an organization today, but being entrepreneur in your life every day is can be an interesting way of saying and seeing things. And last thing I will share about ideas. From what I've been observing during those last 10 years, you don't decide to create something, but creating something is more something that happens to you. It happens that you have an encounter. It happens that you perceive an idea. It happens that you discover a problem, and that puts you in move. You may know this very well-known philosopher. I used to do philosophy studies, so sometimes I'm referring a lot to those type of people. So Plato says that necessity is the mother of innovation, and indeed, if you struggle having an idea is that it didn't yet came to you, and so you don't need to be blocked in your room, or really striving to find an idea because you don't create it, it happens to you, and it will happen to you because you are in a necessity mode. And the necessity mode is something that you can only allow by going on the ground, meeting people, and being available to it, but not kind of stressed and attached to it. If we move after this question of ideas, so if I wrap up, as I was saying, you may perceive an idea and you won't be able to know if it is a good one until you will put it on the ground. How can you put it on the ground after having met people that may be interested? There is a question of how you can prototype it. There is this topic about MVP, minimum viable product. For those of you who are listening to podcasts or also participating in entrepreneurship classes, you know those type of expression. What is interesting about the MVP, it's a bit connected to this image between the seed and the tree, which is that, again, the seed, it's not a tiny tree. So the prototype, the first little version that you may create of your solution will not look like the end product. And so if I take the example, often we have like participants who are willing, for instance, to develop an app. Maybe that's the first thing that you can create to test the process that you want to develop through the app. Maybe it will only be Excel sheets, some text message, a phone call, an event, or just connecting two people through sharing their phones or organizing a live meeting. So it's very important to be able to drop down, get to a super low-tech way of seeing things, be super simple and concrete, and see how you can from day one help one person. And this requires to accept to be in a draft mode, to accept to do something that doesn't look like the amazing project you have in mind, but this is the only way that you can advance. So example is really to build also things with your hands. To don't hesitate to prototype with whatever paper, pen, scissors, whatever you have that allow you to build a first super simple version of what you try to do. And for this, you don't need any special person. You can already do it tonight in your room. This game, you may know it in French, it's Où est Charlie, where is Charlie? And this is for me to illustrate one of the main questions we always have in the START program is, where can I find my co-founder? And especially, where can I find my CTO, tech developer, because I want to again create an app and I need a developer to do so. This again is something you can absolutely put on the side for later. Of course, you can open yourself and start speaking about what you are building to see if maybe you will meet the right person, but along the way, and even to convince this person to join you in the adventure, it will only be possible if you already yourself start to build something. And the chance that you have is that today, to build things, there are two very interesting tools that you may have heard about. There is the no-code that has been very, very highly developed during the last 3 to 4 years. The no-code allow you, even though you have no clue about how to technologically develop a solution, you can build an app, a website, even a voice commanded website. you can create everything with solutions that requires very little technological knowledge. And by the way, we have on our YouTube channel some masterclass about it, how to use no code and what are the possibilities and the limits of no code. And low code, it's even what I was saying before, it's even the fact of not using technology or using very, very simple technology. And this, we highly recommend to dive in it whenever you want to build something that can really help you. We also have on our website a toolbox that has been developed especially by our team on the Berlin campus. We will share the link with you, of course, later on, but on this toolbox, you are able to identify according to where you are in your question. So for instance, maybe you are at the markets study stage, or you are willing to build a pitch deck in order to present your project in a very clear way, or as I was saying, you want to build the first very simple version of your project. And we push to you different types of tools and network that can be interesting to you. Sorry, I have just checking my phone. So this is a toolbox that we will give you more elements after that. So we will split again you in groups. So this time, Agnieszka, how many people are in a room? Is it 3 or 4? I was with you. Yeah.
Yeah, so can be 2 to 3 or 3 or 4. So it depends how you prefer.
Excuse me, I don't understand the question.
Yeah, I will.
Okay, sorry.
I didn't precise it. I was just wondering how many people will be in a room.
Yep. So it's we can do either 2, 3 or 3, 4.
Maybe we can do 3, 4.
Okay. Yes, we'll do.
10 minutes. Okay, so you will be in a group, and the question is, for those who are working on a project, or at least who have a precise idea of what you want to build, the real question is, okay, if I could help at least one person in the coming weeks, like next week, how could I help one person in next week about the project I'm building? Because often, again, you are thinking, okay, it will be later, it will be in 1 month when I will have developed my platform, it will be in 2 months when I will have met my co-founder. The question is, like, right now, with only yourself or your team, from where you are today, what can you do so that next week there is at least one person that has been that have benefits from the service or the products that you want to offer, or something that is, of course, similar.
So this means the project is already done and we're trying to find out who our first customer could be?
No, it means that, okay, let me give an example. Okay, imagine I want to create e-commerce on which I will promote all the, I'm just taking a company that I know, all the cosmetics that are sustainable for pregnant women. Imagine this is my project, but today I have nothing. What I may do next week is maybe I can find a pregnant woman next week, and I can share with her what are the products she could use during her pregnancy for taking care of herself that are good for her health. I don't have a website. I don't create nothing, but I help one person depending on what I want to do.
Okay.
It makes sense? Yeah?
I'll see with the group.
Okay, good luck. Finish the masterclass, so I wanted to go a bit more in the business side of the project. Again, the connection to what we were discussing in the breakout room just now, which is how can you quickly build something and do and serve a first person, that's also very connected to two things. The first one is like, I'm pretty happy that nowadays in the startup ecosystem, also because of the financial crisis, there is a more tangible understanding of the fact that creating a project is also selling a service of a product, and that the development of an organization is based on the turnover and the fact of selling something, and not only on the fact of raising a high amount of funds. So that's something you're also very invited to consider while going along with your project, is to understand how can I sell something, which means how can I serve someone that is so in need and so happy about my service that he will give me something in exchange. And for this, you need to build something. The example of this apple tree is like, if you want to sell apples, first you have to grow apples. And that's why it is super key for you to, even though you may have a wonderful, complex, long-term vision about what you want to build, is to understand, okay, this is what I see, but right now, today, is there anything I can do so that I can help concretely someone? And maybe this someone will be willing to give me something in exchange, which is not only doing it for free or for this person to be nice to accept what I propose, but they really need it. So having this mindset of building something, even if it is simple, even if it is small, and being able to enter in this trading exchange, very concrete dynamic is important, and that's the ground floor for you then to build something that is big. Business model Canva, I also wanted to mention it. The same when I was mentioning the design thinking process. For those one who've been studying entrepreneurship, or you may have been coming around the business model Canva, it is exactly the same than the design thinking process. It is not a methodology, it is a simplified way of trying to explain how do creators build projects instinctively. But it is a very interesting key. So for those one who don't know it, I invite you to consider looking at it. It allows you to understand what are the different activities involved in the creation of a project. So for instance, just to go very fast on it, on the middle, you have the value proposition. In my question, I was saying, how can you serve a first person? The question is like, what do you offer? So the value proposition is, what do you offer that someone is interested in and understand? The customer segment is, who are the people to whom you are offering something? Customer relationship is the proximity that you have with your customer segment, so the people you are offering a service or a product to. What is your relationship to them? The channel is, how do they receive and can benefit from the service of product. The revenue is, what do they give you in exchange? And on the other side, the key activities is, what do you have to do in order to create the product or the service? The key resources is, what do you need as a human beings, competencies, raw materials that you put in action. And the partners are the partners that will help you along the way. And the cost is, how much does it cost to you? So as you see, it's a pretty pragmatic way to put together activities and to move them around. For instance, the main example is about partnership. Sometimes you can be doing activities yourself. So for instance, if you are a baker, you can do the bread yourself, or you can have a partner that will do part of your activities. So you could sell bread, but not make it, and have a partner that will create the bread. This is more a canvas where you can move things around, but again, this is not a recipe. Very interesting to dive in it, very important to forget it, and first put your spontaneity and natural capacity to create in front. Another element, often there is a fear about, you know, going all for it or not going all for it. The question of, okay, but if I start a project, shall I suddenly quit my job, quit my studies, stop everything? And there is this sometimes binary decision to take when it comes to creation. The reality is like, still you have a life, you need to sleep and brush your teeth and eat and just live. And we've been coming around all models. So we had entrepreneurs who were working during 3 years and building their company on the side and slowly having less time. We had entrepreneurs who were having some side jobs to finance their company. We had entrepreneurs who stopped everything and go all for it in their companies. There is no rule, but for sure, don't put yourself in a dangerous or stressed way. There is something that is organic, and as it is organic, you can start while doing something else. That's why, as you see, it is late now, and we put the start program from 6 to 8 during the whole year, so that you can be working, studying on the side, and, you know, doing that while you are living other experiences in your life. And at some point, yes, you're gonna have to go for it, but it will come to you as an evidence. That won't be something that you will push too hard. So be nice with you and understand that every situation exists and they are very, very diverse, and that's there's no rule neither in this. Last thing about investors, the reality is, like, if you start doing things very concretely and that you already have some people you have served and that they were really happy about what you do, then investors, they will look for you, because investors struggle in finding solid entrepreneurs, in finding solid projects, in finding also sustainable projects today. It's really something that they're looking for, and there are a few. So if you build slowly something solid and of a value, you will find investors for that. So the place where you have to focus on is not on seducing investors, it's on building something relevant people want and are happy about, and things will go on the right way. About communication, same thing. You don't have to overload LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever a platform with content creation and too many noise around what you do. The main thing that you need, I was asking, how can you serve one person? I could add, how can you serve one person and have this person be your first ambassador? Word of mouth is really the strongest thing you can have about whatever you do. So what is super key is whomever you will be working with and helping in the coming weeks are the one that you have to make very happy, and they will be your best marketing. So don't stress you too much or bother you losing your money in Facebook ads or Google ads or whatsoever. If you are at the starting point of what you are building, this is not what you need. You need really people that are your supporters and ambassadors, and that everything will be built from there. I was speaking about differentiation, again, about marketing. What is important is that people can understand what you do and identify you. And I always love this comparison with the bakery, because I mean, in France, we love bread. And whenever I go to a bakery, my first question to a new bakery will be, what is the difference between those breads? They are all breads, but they all have different types of seed and taste and etc. And so the whole topic is, whatever you're doing, other people are doing it, but you have a specific taste. And that's what you want to develop, is this specific taste. And that's what we want to communicate clearly, so that we can simply know if we are going for yours or for someone else. This is all about growth marketing, digital marketing. I was telling about Facebook ads, Google ads, and etc. I would recommend you not to lose yourself in all those tools that are tools for growth, not for start. So some of them can be very good to test when we were speaking about MVP. So there's not everything to put in the, don't throw the baby with the water of the bath, I think in French we say that at least. But you can lose a lot of energy in digital marketing, which is something that can be useful maybe later on once you will have done something that is strong in a more simple way. And if you slowly build something relevant that people want, don't worry, you will grow big and people will know about you. So that's how it is if you are in this organic entrepreneurship movement. To finish, there is always this question, okay, but where do I start? What do I do first? What is my next steps? And sometimes you will kill yourself with a long to-do list of whatsoever things you have to do. Another metaphor that for me is very relevant is the one of the virgin forest. You are building something new that never was built before. You are in a journey that is even not only your project, that is your life, that is something totally new. Consider yourself in a virgin forest. How could you know what will happen in 200 meters? It's impossible. You only have what is around you that you can take care of and consider. So we really invite you to be in this availability, energy, attention, and capacity to act on what you can touch and connect with in your immediate surrounding. And so don't annoy yourself with questions that will arrive at some point. Here I put the, do you prepare the wedding contract before you find a partner? That's a bit the idea. Sometimes we have entrepreneurs who are already asking themselves about legal questions that they didn't even interview any potential user, and they didn't even do what I proposed some few minutes before, which is how can I serve them in a very simple way next week. So make sure that you are asking questions to yourself and taking questions in consideration that are relevant today. And be sure that you will have answers for the question you need to answer when it is the right time. It's a bit the same again when I was speaking about this forest, virgin forest. You don't know if you will meet a crocodile or a big dangerous river or a beautiful flower in 2 kilometers. And when you will meet it, then you will whatever, do what you have to do with it. Can you draw the map before you walk in the jungle? That's a bit the same. Again, all these business plan and all these roadmaps for the next 3 years. Some stakeholders in the entrepreneurship ecosystem ask for it, especially in the investment sector. But as you are at the beginning of your journey, don't block yourself with those elements. You don't know. That's the reality. You cannot know. Just walk and discover and start doing things and only build documents that are relevant today where you are. And the last one, what the difference between thinking about water and drinking. That's mainly really to show the difference between idea and actions. Sometimes you can block yourself into thinking, I will, what if, I imagine, but nothing is. So it doesn't mean to put yourself in a crazy action mode, but make the difference and stop being lost in thoughts and go into actions step by step, because that's the only way you can arrive somewhere that you don't know, and you don't know where you will go, how you will go for it, but that will be the real adventure of creation that we propose to you.